Howdy again everyone. I personally love the wide-angle 35mm focal length on a full-frame camera, particularly when combined with a bright maximum aperture. Well, the equivalent of that on an APS-C camera is 24mm, and here we have the cheapest 24mm f1.4 lens for APS-C cameras I believe ever made, the 7Artisans 24mm f1.4. It's a fully manual lens for Canon EOS M mount, Sony E mount, Fuji X, Canon RF, Nikon Z, and Micro Four Thirds, and its price of $109 is astonishingly low. I'd like to thank 7Artisans for winging one over to me for evaluation, although as usual this is a totally independent review. As I mentioned, and as you'd expect at this kind of price point, this is a totally manual lens, manual aperture control and manual focus, which can obviously slow you down when shooting at f1.4. The whole lens is metallic, without weather sealing, and the focus ring turns very smoothly, just far enough to shoot precisely. As you can see here, the lens suffers from moderate focus breathing, zooming in and out as you change focus. There's an aperture ring at the front of the lens which also turns smoothly. That is video for video work, but for photography I like having some tactile clicks in there. The lens comes with a metallic slip-on cap which could do with being a little deeper to fit more securely. It could easily fall off in your camera bag. The filter thread size is 49mm. Other than that, the lens handles perfectly okay, and just as you'd expect for a low-budget lens. Let's take a look at image quality now. These pictures are taken on a Fuji X-T3 camera with its 26MP APS-C sized sensor. In-camera corrections are not available with this lens. At f1.4, image quality is really soft in the middle of the picture with very low contrast, and the corners, oh, well, I'll let the results speak for themselves here, as there's an entire witch's brew of optical issues to be seen. Stop down to f2 for more brightness in the corners, but no other improvement. The middle of the image is looking better now with some decent contrast, although sharpness is still low. f2.8 sees an improvement there, but it's only really at f4 that we get a sharp image in the middle, and the corners still pretty soft unfortunately, particularly in the very edges. Stop down to f5.6 or f8 for minor improvements, but that's as good as the corners get. And if we move halfway back to the middle, we are still seeing a soft image with lots of chromatic aberration. The image quality stays the same down to f16. Well, that's a bit of a shame. This lens is clearly very soft indeed. When it comes to distortion and vignetting, the lens performs a little better. There's only negligible barrel distortion to be seen here, although vignetting is a little strong at f1.4. Corners brighten up at f2 and f2.8, as you can see. The lens can focus down to 30cm, but the image quality there remains just as bad at f1.4 and f2, although at f2.8 you can achieve a usable image. The lens also has a large number of problems when shooting against bright light. At f1.4 we see tons of flaring, glaring and less contrast than ever. Stop down to f2.8 though for a bit of contrast to return. A pity the lens doesn't come with a hood, that would have been helpful. While we're working in the dark, let's take a look at chroma levels. They are pretty bad at f1.4 as you can see. They're a little better at f2 and f2.8 and acceptable at f4. Let's zoom out just a little and look for sun stars. They begin to emerge quite noticeably at f8. Here's f11 and f16, where they get really quite strong. And finally, bokeh. If I were being kind, I'd say this lens's out-of-focus backgrounds have character. Honestly, they are some of the busiest I've ever seen, even when backgrounds are quite strongly out of focus. Overall, well, one look at my test results today reveals that releasing a 24mm f1.4 lens for only $109 is an experiment which, unfortunately, has failed this time. Okay, well, thanks for watching everyone. Most YouTubers out there have a second channel for all their random bits and bobs they like to put together. Well, I like to put all that kind of thing on my Patreon page, exclusively for my supporters over there. Thank you to all of you for helping to keep this channel going, and you can always check out my Patreon page in the description below. Ciao for now, everyone.